Did you know that a new system, a payment and settlement system for intra-Africa trade is being tested in West Africa, and Nigeria will be where the unveiling will be in the month of May. That's just about 2 months from now, less than that really. Despite the fact that Nigeria is yet to sign the new Africa Continental Free Trade Zone, the country will be the takeoff point for the new Pan-African payment and settlement system for intra-Africa trade. That's what the Africa Export-Import Bank is working on, and of course you'll see that in the next 2 months or thereabout. This was all part of what Benedict Orama, Dr. Benedict Orama, the president of the AFREXIM Bank, told the audience here in Lagos 2 days ago when he came for the Bullion lecture. Let's take a listen to him.
Infrastructure deficit is the biggest challenge facing intra-regional trade. But our view at AFREXIM Bank is that we do not agree fully. We think that the infrastructure problem is a generalized problem. The stock of infrastructure in Africa today is able to carry $1 trillion of African trade. The question is, why is intra-African trade share only 170, 160 billion? Why is it not 400 billion of that 1 trillion that the available infrastructure can carry? The problem is lack of information. People do not know what exists in other African countries. And we did a study, we launched a study focused on leather. We did it with UNCTAD and the Commonwealth Secretariat, and we released it, I think, 2 years ago. And some of the findings there are very revealing, and I give you a few. It says South Africa imports leather further prepared after tanning from India at a price which is double the price at which Ethiopia exports the input to the world. Mauritius and Nigeria globally import leather products from Italy and Belgium at a much higher cost as compared to what South Africa and Botswana globally exports. Kenya imports raw hides from New Zealand, while Burundi, just across the border, exports the same to the world at a much lower price. So people just don't know. And I saw one African head of state a few weeks ago, and he was telling me that he saw a colleague or another head of state, and that one was telling him that that they were exporting coal. And he was saying, oh, he didn't know, and they were importing coal from somewhere else. So this is the kind of thing that we do not have any information about what's going on. It's all part of what I said earlier, the quote I read about the colonial strategy. Other people don't know anything about what's going on across our borders. So that is another important constraint. That's the currency, about trade information. The third problem, which is generalized, is given the fragmented nature of the African economies, we have also fragmented regulations. We have 55 countries in Africa. Each of them has its own customs regime. I know there are some countries that have a custom arrangement, but overall, custom regime, they have their banking arrangements, they have investment guidelines, investment policies. So the cost of searching is so high. Can you imagine, as a businessman now, the CFTA is on, you are looking to where to invest in. Where do you go to? 55 countries. You are trying to find the best place. So you have to invest heavily to find somebody to go through one website to another one website. Some of them don't have websites. So yes, it's a big challenge. So 55 countries, 55 customs, 55 tariff arrangements, everything. So searching, the cost of that is so high. And that in itself also discourages investors. It discourages trade. The final thing on that is the fragmented nature of the economies and the small size of the businesses in some of these economies makes the cost of compliance checks on businesses very high. Today, many international banks are not operating in many African countries because the marginal cost of compliance has increased to such extent that in terms of the marginal revenue from doing business in that country, it doesn't justify it. So they just cut off the line. And I can count it for you. If maybe countries that are not so affected, maybe South Africa, Nigeria, maybe Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, Kenya, just a few of them that are not so affected. Many countries are. And that's why we as AFREXIM Bank, given our nature, we're not supposed to be doing really trade services, doing LCs and all that. But we had now to expand our trade services to offer this, because the countries do not have anymore. The compliance check issue will even become a big constraint to intra-regional trade under CFTA, because people want to know who they are dealing with. But because of all of this, I mentioned 4 things: multiple currencies, trade information, high cost of compliance, the regulatory, fragmented regulatory regimes. AFREXIM Bank is now implementing a big project called the African Trade Gateway. That big project is a series of platforms intended to address these issues. In July, we launched the Africa Customer Due Diligence Repository platform. That was July last year. We launched it, and that platform is gathering as we speak. We are populating it now. It's gathering the customer due diligence information of all the businesses in Africa. We expect that when it starts operating fully, it will have millions of banks, SMEs, corporations within the platform. The idea is to make it easier for people to do compliance checks on African companies, and thereby reducing the cost of compliance. We believe by reducing the cost of compliance, the marginal cost will go down and bring it more in line with what people are expecting from a cost-benefit point of view. That will then increase access to finance. That will then make it easier for people to trade with those companies. In May, AFREXIM Bank will be launching the first phase of the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, which is a clearing platform. That platform is designed to enable African countries to pay for goods and services in the intra-African trade direction in their local currencies. Because AFREXIM Bank is not regulated, it's able to clear those currencies. We expect, based on the calculations we've done, that this will reduce the foreign exchange cost of doing intra-African trade significantly. Because by the time we settle within country and across countries, the need for foreign exchange will go down. It's only the countries that are in deficit when the clearing happens that can then pay in dollars. And then the system has a way for us to grant them overdraft. So the central banks will have the overdraft so that they can pay. So we're starting the pilot in May within the West African Monetary Zone, the 6 countries of the West African Monetary Zone, which is Nigeria, Guinea-Conakry, Gambia, Sierra Leone, Liberia, and Ghana. So, and the idea is to do the pilot in those countries. There are multiple currencies, 6 in number. So when we finish it, we then blow it up to the rest of the continent. This project is going to be unveiled at the AU Summit in July, because it's an important component of support for the continental free trade area. And we expect eventually that we will be in the clearing bank overall. We will create a numeraire, and then it's perhaps many years down the road, that may be a basis for one currency, for a single currency, because we will establish exchange rates.